Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you for today's lesson. And just as I promised that our lessons will begin today, 10th of November, and streaming live biology classes. And I hope you find it quite interesting. This will be very important, maybe for those who are doing O level, A level, AS level, and even to the college level. And I believe you'll find this interesting, so that you can join me for more. Thank you so much. And my name is John Kute, and I want to take you through introduction to the immune system. Introduction to the immune system. So under this, we'll have several objectives to achieve, and I believe that at the end of the lesson, we will be able to be in a position to define what immune system is, what is exactly immune system. We'll define the term immunology. Then we'll look at a brief history of the field of immunology. How has it been developing ever since? And then we will also look at gradually the types of the immune system types. And in this case, we're going to talk about innate immunity, and we're also going to talk about acquired immunity. So welcome, and there will be questions at the end of this. And I want to believe I'm going to make this in a more simple way for all of us to understand, that we're able to grab the concept. Thank you so much. So, all right, we start from there. So what is immunity? Before we define this immunity is coming from the term immunology. And immunology is a science of study. So immunology is the science of the study of cells, molecules, organs, and systems, and how they coordinate each other to give the body its defense mechanism against pathogenic infections. So I believe you got that definition, and it is close to the term immunity, if you can see there. So the immunity in this case, therefore, is the body's ability to resist or eliminate potentially harmful foreign materials or abnormal cells. And these are the foreign materials we're talking about. Remember, we have the virus, they cause diseases, we have the viral diseases, we have toxins, these are the toxins, maybe we might have acquired them from the food we eat. We have fungus, we have bacteria, we have parasites, germs. So the ability of the body to eliminate these substances is what we call to resist or eliminate. That is what we call immunity. And it is very important because immunity, the study of immunity, has brought about a lot of development in the medical sector. And so for those students who are looking forward maybe to become a doctor, a nurse, or any field of study that concerns with medicine, and then that means you need to pay much attention to such introductions, because they will help you in the future career. So great. And history, what imparts immunity? You will read all this. This will be there for you. And I'll just want to give you a simple history. The study on the field of immunology started from the microbiology study. It is actually being derived from microbiology study. Since you see it deals with how our body systems are cultured to protect us against pathogenic infections, protect us against bacteria, against virus, against fungi. And so the field of microbiology, it's what led to the study of immunity. I remember, look at the history quite well. Back then, there is this scientist, we call him Edward Jenner. Yes, you've heard of him, maybe, probably. Edward brings us about this field of immunology to a better understanding. Because look at this, there was this dangerous disease, that really struck the whole world called smallpox. Do you remember those years? Maybe read from the history. So it was quite uncertain. What is causing this smallpox? Who are the people? So Edward Jenner was just an epidemiologist. An epidemiologist, someone who studies, try to relate the spread of disease in a given population. So as he was studying, trying to get where and how this disease has affected people from one level to the other, he noticed something so unique, that dairy maids, those who are the dairy maids, could not contract this disease called smallpox. Why? They had a very mild infection called the cowpox. So from this investigation, he decided to go further and investigate the truth to confirm about this. So he inoculated an 8-year-old boy with the blisters of the cowpox from the dairy maids, yes, and then the boy contracted cowpox, of course. Then later, that is after 2 months later, he decided to inoculate now this smallpox into this young boy. And the boy did not contract smallpox. And that is how you realize that the field of immunology is being brought about, such concepts. And that is why we did. I believe for those who remember, you are immunized against certain diseases. Yeah, that is what we are talking about. So that to date, we can protect ourselves either via certain vaccines that are being injected or inoculated to our systems. And that is what Edward Jenner really did. So look at the history. Here we have Emil Vaughan, serum from vaccinated animals was protective, and that is about diphtheria. Then we have, there is the other one that did the issue of the cell-based immunity, and many others. They came up with this study. And so that has assisted us to date. And that is what we use to date. And so as a student, I want to bring you to now the key issue here, the immune system. You've heard of systems such as reproductive system, the digestive system. This system is a bit more unique because it is not just about an organ system like the others. This includes certain cells, it has tissues, it has other organs, and various, even proteins, and all of them, they just coordinate and play a major role protecting our body against pathogenic infections. And that is the key role of the immune system. So immune system is a bit complex in nature, since it has these ones, the skin, it has the skin which acts as a physical barrier. It has the lining of the mucous membrane. It has secretions such as tears. I'm going to explain all this. The bone marrow, all this makes up the immune system. So what is immunity? Immunity, therefore, would refer to the body's ability to detect a given foreign material, hence protect itself against infection. That ability of your body to be able to detect any foreign material that is pathogenic in nature, or that is virus, bacteria, fungi, and at the same time be able to defend yourself, the body defending itself from infection caused by such materials. That is what we call immunity. So look at this. When the body, our body system, is able to detect the presence of these materials and at the same time be able to eliminate or protect the body from the infections of this, then that is what we call immunity. And so I'll give you the overview of the immune system. We have the types of immunity. Immunity can either be innate immunity or adaptive immunity. And innate immunity is what I call first line of defense. And I'm going to explain this. What is it that I mean when I say first line of defense? And then innate immunity can also be called non-specific immunity. In fact, sometimes we also call it natural immunity. So natural immunity, innate immunity, or non-specific immunity. I want to talk about more of this. And this is where it's the first line of defense, like what the body's natural structures, cells, and tissues and organs, natural structures that coordinate to give the body defense mechanism against infection, the natural structures. And these ones I divide them in the following, into the following groups or categories. One, there is the physical or mechanical barrier. Just listen to this very carefully. Physical or the mechanical barrier. In here, I will talk about the skin. The skin is a protective structure that protects your body against pathogenic infection. The entry of microbes. Some microbes have been barred from accessing your internal cells just by the fact that the structure of the skin is in a way that it is less moist, it is dry in nature, so it doesn't allow certain microbes get through the skin to your body. So the skin is a physical barrier. Now, I'm talking about the cilia cells, or what you call the ciliated cells. I'm talking about the mucus and the mucous membrane. Look at the mucus and mucous membrane that lines several structures and systems. We find it in the urinary system, the digestive system. We find it in the reproductive system, but even in the breathing system. So, for example, the cilia, together with the mucus that line the nasal cavity. Remember, you breathe in air every now and then. At other times, you might breathe air that is so dusty or that carries certain particles that are germs in nature. But why are you not affected or infected by, for example, common flu every now and then? It is very simple. Because of those physical barriers, the air traps that dust in a nasal cavity. Then together with the mucus, the cilia causes what we call the ciliated movement, allowing the trapped dust deep into the stomach. Or you see, now you'll swallow. And so it will not bring the infection in the nasal cavity. That is how the physical barrier has worked. By the help of the cilia cells, ciliated cells, the mucous membrane, and now even the skin, as we have said. That one is the first mechanism used under natural immunity, also called innate immunity, also called non-specific immunity. The second category or mechanism under which innate immunity operates is what we call use of chemical reactions. I can also call it just chemical substances. There are certain chemical substances produced by your body system that in one way or the other defend your body against pathogenic infection. I'll give you an example. Lysozyme is an enzyme produced by the tears, bodily fluids such as tears. Lysozyme is able to protect certain bacteria from entering your system. And for example, the bacteria we call the gram-positive bacteria. For those who are going to take biology to further steps, you're going to learn more about this. So that is very much important. The second mechanism under which innate immunity works, I have said, the use of chemical secretions. The skin also secretes a chemical substance known as keratin. Keratin is a chemical substance that neutralizes, what do you call, brings about the skin's moisture content. So it keeps the skin less moist in nature, and so barring the pathogens from getting into our body system. That is the second mechanism. Listen and follow this carefully. trying to make you understand the immune system. How does your body work to defend yourself against diseases? How does it really work? And that you find yourself, you are not sick every now and then because you have certain structures, certain mechanisms that helps you or protects you from getting such illness or contracting diseases. So we are in the innate immunity, don't forget that. And this is a natural immunity. And I've said this is the type of immunity where the body's natural structures helps in defending against pathogenic infection. The mechanism it uses, number one, is about physical mechanical barrier. Example, the skin, the air that lines in the nasal cavity, the mucous membrane, the ciliated cells. Those are the physical barrier. We're now talking of chemicals secretions. The skin secreting keratin that keeps the skin less moist. We are talking about the other one, the lysozyme, an enzyme that is secreted by bodily fluids such as the tears, and so that is protecting you from infection. Then third one is what I call the use of specific cells. There are body cells. In this case, to be specific, white blood cells. I'll give you an example. We have the neutrophils. Yes, you know that blood is composed of plasma and cells. The blood cells are red blood cells, the white blood cells, and the platelets. Now, the red blood cells, we will talk about it later when we'll be bringing you about the formation of the blood, where is blood being produced, and so on and so on. And so we'll be mentioning it maybe also in a part of this because they are really related. But then the white blood cell is divided into several structures. So there are others that are called the neutrophils. We have the eosinophils, we have the basophils. Those ones, don't worry about those terms. But I mean, we even have the macrophages. They do what you call engulfing, to engulf, to trap the pathogen. I'll be showing you even videos, short videos. In fact, I've given a link here. Just click and find out how a neutrophil run after a pathogen, run after bacteria, run after a virus that is trying to infect your system, and it is able to engulf, to trap it, and then either it will do what you call the toxic components of the particular bacteria can be neutralized using these cells. So they neutralize the toxic components that may cause the disease, or they kill or destroy the total structure or cell of that given pathogen. And when I talk of pathogen, please keep on your mind, let you have this in your mind. I'm talking about the parasites, I'm talking about bacteria, I'm talking about the viruses, and so on and so forth, the fungi, those disease-causing microorganisms. Then I'm looking at the third. I've said mechanisms under innate immunity: physical barrier, use of chemical secretions, use of cells, and then there's another one called the normal flora, the body's normal flora. What do I mean by this? Our body system and structure is made up of several and numerous microorganisms that are harmless in nature, and they form part of structure called body's normal flora. So how will they help in protecting you against infection? One, when they attach to the sites that the pathogen is targeting. And so that one is already taking care of your body system and cells. So the invading pathogen do not find space and the landing site to which it is supposed to cause this particular infection. Remember, every given pathogen has a targeted cell. For example, if you're talking about the virus, the HIV virus, for example, you know it is targeting a specific type of white cell called the T cell. And so that is why we are talking about when the viral load goes up, when the number of virus goes up, then your CD4 cells, those specific cells, they go down because they destroy them completely. So I'm talking about this body normal flora. They are going to help. They really and really help your body system from infections. That is still a mechanism under innate immunity. Another one, I will call it that process where your cell is destroyed maybe or injured, and you get like cure out of it because of a certain process that takes place that I'm going to explain. Just follow me very keenly. So what happens, it is called inflammation, or what I call inflammatory. Inflammation is caused when there is a tissue that has been injured. Tissue injury or tissue damage can take place when there is a cut or a knock or a hit. So the tissue that is injured releases certain chemical reactions, chemical substances known as like the histamine. Histamine therefore causes what we call vasodilation, the enlargement of this particular the enlargement of the particular veins and the arteries, and so allowing the flow of cells now, like white blood cells, that will now engulf the pathogen in that area, or in turn causes a meshwork. There is that meshwork of blood protecting from further infection. So inflammation, that's swelling in a layman's term. When you knock yourself or you cut yourself, after some time you see it swelling. That, it's your body's mechanism and a natural system, this first line of defense in preventing you, protecting you from infection. So let us see this: innate immunity, rapid response to a broad range of microbes. So you see this, the skin, the mucous membrane, the secretions, as I've said, the cells, like I've said, the phagocytic cells, phagocytes, like the neutrophils. Then we have inflammatory response, just as I've given you what is an inflammatory response. And you need to now know the inflammatory response, how it takes place. But then we have another type of immunity called acquired immunity. Acquired immunity or adaptive immunity, I can divide it into two. I can either say passive or active. To mean it is now not the natural system. It is the immunity either developed by the body as a result of an infection, or the immunity you gain when antibodies are transferred from different systems to your system. Remember, this is now the strongest type of immunity, the best immunity type that protects us against infection that we're talking about. When you are to develop certain mechanisms against disease just because you're already infected with that disease, then that will be acquired immunity. At times, maybe when you're given vaccine against a certain disease, that is immunity. So let me explain, that is the acquired immunity. Let me explain briefly that in acquired immunity, that is about passive or active. So passive immunity is where antibodies generated from different systems are transferred to your system. It means your system lacks certain antibodies that are required, that are needed to protect your body against infection. We'll be talking about this antibody thing. You know about the protein structure called antibody. You know what it is and how it works, because the antibody-antigen reaction is one of the major type of immunity that our bodies systems have to respond against infection. So follow this keenly even in our upcoming classes, so that you're able to understand what I'm talking about when I mention the issue of antibodies. So don't worry, don't mind for now. We will try and make it more simpler. There are also books and resources you go read, but this concept is as simple as I'm trying to mention it. Thank you so much. So look at this, that acquired immunity, it is slower, but it's very specific to microbes. What do I mean by it's specific? Like, for example, certain vaccine is specific to certain infections. We have vaccine against TB, vaccine against polio, vaccine against measles, vaccine. So you understand why we say it is specific. So in the passive immunity, which is under acquired immunity, I've said acquired immunity can be into two, either passive or active. So passive is where we transfer the antibodies from different systems to your system, just to help your body have that protection mechanism against infections. And what do I mean by this? For example, antibodies can be transferred to your system naturally, like during from mother to child, yes, from mother to child via the placenta. Antibodies are also transferred naturally, that is from mother to child during breastfeeding. You know very well that the first 6 months, that is why we really advocate that the mother should do exclusive breastfeeding of their children for the first 6 months. Why? Children have not yet developed certain mechanisms strong enough to defend them against infections. So they depend on the antibodies, those protein structures, from the mother that they get during breastfeeding. Breast milk, the colostrum, contains very strong antibodies that protect that child. Now, antibodies can also be passed artificially. I'm still talking about passive acquired immunity, getting antibodies from different cells, systems to your system. So the transferring artificially, we can give you vaccine. When we vaccinate you, and you know, now go and maybe you understand this, that you get vaccinated. Of course, it's practiced all everywhere in the whole world. Every child needs to be vaccinated against certain diseases at specific times. We're talking about vaccination of poliomyelitis. We're talking about vaccination of against TB, vaccination against measles, vaccination against tetanus, and so on and so forth. And that is passive immunity. Yes, then that is the immunity. Then active immunity is where, that is actually active immunity, sorry. The other way, passive immunity, is where we give you blood transfusion, right? Just correct that. Blood transfusion, like we transfuse blood. Maybe your blood doesn't have certain structures, not enough white blood cells, or it lacks certain structures that are required. So we need blood transfusion. Just simply giving you a different antibody from someone else. That is passive immunity. Now, the other one I was mentioning is active. Active immunity is where there is a certain process that is activating your body to have antibodies. One, it can be naturally through natural infections. Remember, there are certain diseases that you only suffer from once in lifetime. For example, if you know measles, one of them. Anyone who contracts measles will lead about a response called the cell-mediated response. Like you'll have a response type that the body will be left by a memory type of antibodies, and so that when they comes for the second time, then you're not able to get that particular infection. That one is now active. It can also be activated now via vaccination. We give you vaccines, and so your body develop response against infection. So we'll talk about this humoral response. This is the one I'm talking about, the humoral response, like the body trying to take and store some antibodies in response to an infection for the second time. The humoral response is all about antibodies, but cell-mediated response is about the use of specific cells, like the lymphocytes, the lymphocytic cells. I'm talking about the neutrophils, even the T cells. The T cell being able to detect a given pathogen in the system, that one is the active immunity. So if you don't forget, I've said active immunity can also be into two, either naturally or artificially. Yes, naturally is through natural infections, diseases that you develop and build up antigens and antibodies, sorry, to protect your body against infections. And yet, there is also this one for being artificially through vaccination, as I've mentioned. So, and this is why we're saying it is acquired immunity specific, very specific. So thank you very much. Just as I almost maybe sum up for this today's lesson, innate immunity versus adaptive immunity. We're just trying to see the differences and similarities. So innate immunity is the first line of defense. It's also called natural immunity. So that, as we've said, so no time lag. Yes, no time lag. Doesn't have specific time frame, but in adaptive immunity, there is a lag period. That one we have seen. Not antigen specific. It does not target a specific antigen. This one, in this case, targets specific antigen, like we have seen in the case of vaccines that targets different and specific antigen. No memory. So there is no way you say, oh, because this time down you have been infected by this disease, your natural system have developed a mechanism. No, if that happens, it will be this one for adaptive, where memory is developed. The next time that infection attacks your system, there are already stored antibodies with the relevant structures, the protein structures, the way it's supposed to be, that bars that particular antigen. By the way, those pathogens that causes diseases, when I talk about antigen, so I'm referring to the pathogens in that case. Very good. So you see the innate immune system, just a summary, it's external defenses and there is internal defenses. The external defenses, I'm talking about the skin, talking about the hairs, talking about the mucous membrane. The internal defenses, I'm talking about the use of cells, such as the neutrophils, the phagocytes. The internal defenses, I'm also mentioning things such as the use of chemical secretions, such as keratin, the use of chemical secretions, such as lysozyme, which is an enzyme secreted by bodily fluids such as tears. And this is just a summary of what we have said. So I believe you'll read more. We will continue there. But I just want to mention that immunity is affected by certain factors. So just to mention, factors affecting immunity. The following factors may affect immunity. Factor number one, we have age. You see very well that children have not yet developed mechanisms or stronger structures. So you see they depend on antibodies from the mother during breastfeeding. Why? Because that immunity is not as strong as it is in adults, as we have seen. Then we have also the elderly people, very elderly people. There are certain structures that they become now less immune. Why? The immune system is also is lowered because of age related. Like for example, there's the certain cells that degenerates and therefore not able to produce stronger system or mechanism against the infection. So age is very important factor. It affects immunity. Another factor is nutrition. We all understand, we might have been, our teachers might have mentioned this to us. We have nutrition disorders, yes. You know, kwashiorkor caused by this, marasmus, lack of this, and all that. That is very important to note because nutrition affects immunity. Then we have another thing called maybe pre-existing conditions, illnesses, yes. For those who have been following keenly the issue of coronavirus, yeah, this is a viral disease. And if you are there present during the SARS, the severe acute respiratory syndrome, to this we call it the SARS-2. That was SARS-1. And you hear of the medical team and or maybe your team mentioning to you that that for sure there is this issue of pre-existing conditions, that those with pre-existing conditions are more vulnerable. What do we mean by this? Certain pre-existing conditions, like for example, somebody with sickle cell anemia. And what is sickle cell anemia? Anemia is just insufficient oxygen in the blood system. You remember the red blood cells? Yes, the red blood cells are the ones that carries the function of transporting what? Oxygen throughout the body system and cells and tissues. So certain red blood cells are not biconcave disc shape when they are sickle cell shape. So they are not able to pass through the blood capillaries. Remember, the biconcave disc shape is supposed to give the red blood cell its feature of being able to squeeze through the small capillaries so that they take the oxygen to the cells. But now, somebody with sickle cell, the sickle cell shape is not it's not a good shape enough to allow the blood cell to pass through the capillaries, and therefore there is no enough flow of oxygen throughout the body. So you note that they are always a bit weakling. It's all about the insufficient circulation of. So such conditions have, some studies have shown that such conditions can lead to lowering the immune system. And therefore they become like vulnerable to certain infections. So you need to note that. And there are many other factors that we can talk about, factors that affect the immunity. We've said age, we talked of pre-existing conditions or illnesses. We've talked of nutrition and so on and so forth. So let us meet in the next lesson, as now I take you through further into this system called the immune system. I will discuss with you the structure of antibodies and antigens. How do antibodies look like? How do they work? How are their structures exactly? So that it makes you understand more about what we are talking about, immunity. Otherwise, thank you so much. Thank you for joining this lesson today. I wish you well. I hope to see you soon. There are more to come. This is going to be a platform where you learn quite a lot, not only in biology, in economics, in business studies, mathematics, both core and extended. Those in IGCSE system understands this. We are going to do physics. We are doing chemistry. We are doing English study, we are doing French, we are doing German. So we have several teachers under the Join Digital Learning Center that are bringing you all those in this platform. So join and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Then you just watch this for free as you get to relax and at least revise during this pandemic period. Otherwise, thank you very much. See you next time. Bye-bye. Hope you enjoyed this.